Hello everyone, my name is Jacqueline. Another change of scenery because the light is shit. And today I will be continuing with my list, with my spoiler review, I guess in detail look at my top favorite books. Next up we have the Hades Trials, right? Yeah, we have the Hades Trials next up. And these books are amazing. So we start with Persephone. She's just having a normal life, going to school for architecture so that she can build amazing gardens. And things are going great. And then one day she goes to a coffee shop and some attractive surfer dude with purple eyes is hitting on her, and she's like, dude, I'm not into it. I don't care. And then he starts following her around the city, and she's getting creeped out, and then out of nowhere he just transports them into a meadow with a cave on the other side of it. And now he is just standing behind her in this meadow also, and there's a lightning storm going on above her because he's Zeus and he's being a dick, I guess. And so he's making lightning hit the ground all around her, trying to push her toward this cave, and so she starts running toward the cave, and she gets into the cave, and it's just this dark descent downward. And she's like, I don't want to go down there. But my only other option is to be out there with creepy dude and his lightning. So I'm gonna go down. So she goes down into the underworld. She reaches the bottom and she's like, now what the fuck do I do? I don't know exactly how you pronounce her name. I call her Hecate. She comes and picks, I think it's her. She comes and picks Persephone up from the entrance and transports her to a room and explains basically what's going to happen. Or either transports her to a room or no, I think they straight up get transported to her first trial where she's introduced to all of Olympus, and Hades is understandably super pissed because this is his wife he just dragged back into Olympus, into this world. She was never supposed to come back. She was never supposed to see any of them again. She was supposed to live a normal life. But because Zeus is a little pissy, he dragged her back as a human and is expecting her to complete in trials made for, demigods. Anyway, so Persephone competes in her first trial and does it successfully, but is still what the fuck is going on? She thinks she's losing her mind, and she starts getting to know everyone. People are really worried that someone's gonna come after her because of shit that happened before Persephone left, and she wants to find out what happened in this other life that she can't remember. But nobody will tell her anything because they're all it's better you don't know, it's better you don't know. And, well, everyone else is saying, it's better you don't know, and I've been ordered not to tell you. And she's like, well, who's giving you these orders? And they're like, Hades, he's our boss. We're not just gonna break his rules. So nobody will tell her anything, and Hades is like, I made you a promise before you drank from the river Live to forget everything, and before you were reincarnated into the human world, I made a promise that I would never ever tell you if we ever met again or something. So he's not telling her anything. She's super pissed, wants to find out. Anyway, she competes in a bunch of trials and wins a bunch of trials, and she asks for pomegranate seeds as the winning tokens of the trials. And someone that's a part of the competition, it's obviously not Hades, he just wants her to get the fuck out of there alive and just live a normal life in the human world. He doesn't want her there. It's too dangerous for her. He's absolutely in love with her. They're soulmates, and he can barely live without her, but he needs her gone so that she's safe. Anywho, so someone is really fond of her or something because the pomegranate seeds are imbued with her, like, the powers that she had before. So each seed she eats, she gets a little bit more of her power back. And so she competes in the trials, she wins a bunch of trials, wins a bunch of seeds, eats some, but at first she's like, I don't want to eat any of these seeds. I don't want any of that power back. I just want to survive and get the fuck out. I don't want my power back. I don't want to be a goddess again. Like, I just want to get back and survive long enough to do that. But then one of the trials, this crazy guy who is super pissed at her comes to kill her with a giant phoenix that's flames, giant, flying around this throne room. It's bad. She's like being electrocuted by him, or I think he's like tasing her with like high-powered taser or something like that, and it's not good. Hades is pissed, understandably, seeing the woman he loves getting hurt. And she stabs him a little, and Hades goes full god. Humans can't be around that. It's deadly for them. So it starts killing Persephone, and Hecate is trying to calm him down, and is like, you're killing her, look down, just look at Persephone, she is dying, you need to calm down. But he has lost it, he's gone, basically. He is just in full-on wrath, you hurt the woman I love mode, and you are not making it out alive. He rips this guy to pieces. Persephone is traumatized. She's about to die. She eats some of the seeds and survives because it gives her some of her power back. That's what happens in this book. And then in this book, she competes in more trials, starts to fall in love with Hades all over again, and still doesn't have her memories back. And at the end of this book, she finally decides that she is going to win or near the end of the book, she finally decides she wants to win the trials, or she's starting to decide, I guess, that she wants to win the trials and be with him. But then she gets sent into Tartarus, which is really bad. Give me a second, my computer's gonna die. Alright. Where was I? Oh, that she might want to start winning the trials and actually be with him. But then someone who's working against everyone sends her down into Tartarus, which is really bad because that's where Kronos is, and because of her power, which is able to, like, absorb the magic of others, because of that power, well, that's one of her powers. Because of that power specifically, though, she can take Kronos' power and destroy Olympus. And so someone sent her down there to do that, to, like, end up being a conduit and absorb Kronos' power, and then end up back on the surface, blow up the whole surface, die in the process, and then Kronos will be set free, and he can take over from there. Hades gets her out and transports her back to, I think it's New York. I don't know. But I visualize New York, so it might actually be New York, but I might just be visualizing that. Anyway, so Hades takes her back to her apartment there, and then is like, you can't stay in the underworld, you need to stay here. And he leaves her there, and she's heartbroken, devastated, because she had finally fallen back in love with him. She doesn't want to be without him. She can feel the bond between them because, like, their marriage bond is still there, and it's like, the marriage bond isn't like a human marriage, it's like ties your souls together so you can feel each other's feelings. And like, she can finally start to feel that again, and now he's just leaving her in the human world. Hecate comes back not long after Hades leaves. I think it's like a few hours later. She like bawls for a while, like just loses it, cries for a few hours, and then takes a shower, calls her brother, and is like, I need you to come over, and then cries with him and tells him everything, and he's like, okay, you've lost your shit, we're gonna go get you some help, and she's like, no, I haven't. And then Hecate pops in, using that flash magic where you just appear somewhere, and he's like, how the fuck did you just do that? And then Hecate's like, you need to get back right now. Hades is about to, like, he's in full god mode. He is heading into Tartarus, and he's going to try and kill Kronos, which is not possible. And Hades shouldn't be able to die, but he can get stuck in Tartarus and end up lost forever. So she's like, I need you to come back, you need to save him. Persephone goes back and she saves him, and she's like, we're not leaving each other again. We're in this together. And Hades is like, yes, I agree. You saved me, thank you, I love you. And they're super cute. And then they start boning and she moves in with him. But there's still a few trials left before, like, he can actually marry her if she wins. If she doesn't win, he's gotta marry some other bitch. The one who wins. Anyway, in this book, they finish the trials, Hades and Persephone get married, we find out that Zeus was the one who was behind all of the shit, because he's super pissed that, like, the Titans are now, like, being integrated into society. People have forgotten that they're, like, what happened, well, they haven't forgotten, but they're like, the Titans aren't the same that they used to be. Like, Kronos was an asshole, yeah, but, like, this Titan isn't an asshole, and neither is this one, and neither is that one. Like, some of them are actually nice people, and so they're now going to, like, the academies in Olympus, and, like, getting jobs, or whatever the jobs are in Olympus. And, like, making friends and stuff, and Zeus is pissed about that because he wants everyone to worship him and remember what he did for them defeating Kronos, and remember how dangerous the Titans are. So his whole plan is to get Persephone to kill herself, basically, by taking on Kronos' power and releasing Kronos so that Zeus can put him back in his cage, and everyone will be like, oh yay, Zeus, you're like the best. Oh my god, I can't believe you just saved us all again. Anyway, it doesn't work. Persephone does take the magic, does take Kronos' power, but instead of blowing everything up, she figures out that she can just channel that magic into life, and so she shoots her little magic vines, into the ground, and channels all that power into the ground, and creates... The underworld is now, like, a bunch of meadows, and forests, and rivers, and it's all very beautiful, and Hades built her a little cabin, because she's like, I can't live in your underground castle all the time. So now, because he built that little cabin and, like, the little meadow, now they live, like, 2 weeks in the meadow together, and then they go back to his little underground castle so that he can replenish his power, and they live 2 weeks there, and then they go back and forth, and it's super cute, and they're adorable, and then they get married again, and her brother walks her down the aisle, and it's just adorable. Oh yeah, because Hecate takes her brother back to the underworld with them at the beginning of this book. When Hecate flashes in to her apartment and her brother's there, and she's like, we've gotta, like, save Hades. So, her brother's been in the underworld the whole last book. Forgot to mention that. Alright, on to the next series. An Enchantment book, An Enchantment of Ravens. An Enchantment of Ravens is super cute. It's about Rook and Isabel. She's a human and he is a fae. And he is actually the Autumn Prince. So he is in charge of and rules over the Autumn Court, or whatever, in the Fae world. Which is basically just across the forest. Like, I say the Fae world, like, the human world is some different place. It's basically just a forest that separates the two. Like, you're in the human world, you've got the forest in front of it, and then you walk through the forest, and then you've got all the different fairy courts. Anyway, so he's the Autumn Prince, and he finally ventures out into the human world again, because he had fallen in love with a human before. It's illegal. Fae and humans aren't allowed to be in love. But he had fallen in love with a human a few hundred years ago, and in order to save both their lives, because they both would have been given a death sentence if they both felt the same way, she left and went on, married someone else, fell in love with him, has some babies, and Rook went and hid in the Autumn Court for a few hundred years because he just couldn't deal. Understandable. I mean, she's like, I'm on the verge of being in love with you, but if we fall in love, we're both gonna die, so I'm gonna go marry that dude. I'd be heartbroken too. Anyway, so, Rook finally goes back to the human world, and he meets Isabel. She is a painter. She paints the Fae, and in exchange, they give her enchantments. So she's got a bunch of enchantments protecting the house, that her and her little sisters live in, with their aunt, because her parents were murdered by, like a magical Fae stag thing that's made out of... It's not really... I say magical Fae stag because it looks like a stag, but it's made out of, like... It's brought to life by magic, made out of a bunch of dead things. They're murdered by that. So she works really hard. She became a really good painter. She's the best painter in, like, hundreds of years. And, so Rook commissions a painting of himself. She paints him, and she realizes that, like, the Fae don't have emotions. But she realizes that there is emotion in his eyes, and she paints it into his eyes. But that's seen as a weakness. So when he unveils the painting to his entire court, everyone sees, like, that there's emotion in his eyes, and, like, it's now seen as a... like, that he has a weakness, so now he can be overthrown. So he goes and he abducts her, and is gonna put her on trial for painting emotion in his eyes. On their journey, he gets injured, and she tries to help save him, and he develops a lot of feelings for her, and they have a steamy make-out session in the forest. And then they come up with a plan that will hopefully save her from a death sentence in the Autumn Court, and will make everyone think that she did it on purpose, that she can, and because the Fae always want stuff that they, like, that's new and shiny, and, like, nobody else has it yet. So they go to the Spring Court, and they, and she puts on a little show where she does all these paintings with giving them all an emotion. Like, she'll paint one of the Fae who's just sitting there still. No emotions, nothing on their face. She paints them with joy, or with anger, or sadness, or happiness, or something. I should mention, when they get to the Spring Court, they're just... No, it's the Spring Court. It's not the Summer Court, right? Yeah, no, Summer Court is later. Anyway, so, but right when they get to the Spring Court, Rook admits that he is in love with her. And she's like, well, I don't feel the same about you. I thought I loved you before you went and abducted me, and then I realized that I don't think it was love, it was just a mixture of lust and being attracted to you. Or lust and liking you. And then he went and abducted me, and all that went out the window. But then she realizes that she is in love with him a little bit later, while she's doing the whole painting thing, and then he saves her, and she realizes that she trusts him enough that to give him her true name, which means that if he wanted to, he could make her do anything that he wanted. Literally anything he wanted. He has complete control over her now that he knows her true name. And nobody else knows her true name but her. So, now he knows it, and he puts a spell on her that makes it so that nobody else can put a spell on her. Nobody but him can now put a spell on her, which is why she gave him her true name in the first place. Anyway, so they've got a ball right before he's about to take her back. They're going to a ball in the spring court right before he's about to take her back to the human world. Little do they know they're about to be under attack. So, one of the humans who was turned into a fae still, remembers a little bit of being human, and, is a little bit, and wants to help. She's, getting some emotions back and stuff, and wants to help and stuff. So, she, tells Isabel that, they're gonna be attacked during this ball. And she's like, well, I could run now and make it so that everything's fine, because the prince of the spring court is attacking them so that, if she admits her feelings, because if they're both in love with each other and they both admit out loud that they're in love with each other, then that's grounds for the death sentence. And so he can kind of see the future, see multiple futures, and he's like, okay, so it's either she's gonna tell him, she's not gonna tell him, or she's just straight up gonna run, or whatever other options there are. She decides to tell him because she wants him to know how she feels after the way that she handled him telling her feelings the last time. And so she tells him. She tells him that she's in love with him. They have a super cute moment where they kiss, and all the other fairies are like, ew, that's so gross. And they're just super adorable. And then, they basically get attacked, and they start getting tortured, and shit's gone bad, and then they get away-ish, and they get dragged into the summer court with the older king, who is the leader of all of the fae. He's there's the princes of all the courts, but then there's the older king who's in charge of just the summer court, but then also presides over all of the courts at the same time. And just kind of the princes just kind of do the day-to-day, whereas the big stuff is left with the older king. Anyway, so Rook is I've got to do something. They're about to kill us both if we're found guilty by the older king here, which we will, since, we both said we loved each other. So he challenges the older king, the most powerful fae in the world, to a duel. I guess you would call it. I don't think it's an actual duel, where they straight up, one shoots the other first, or, magical powers back and forth, or whatever, but anyway, yeah. Challenges him to a duel. They barely make it out with their lives, because he starts, fighting him, and then just creates a distraction, and then he gets them both out of there so that they can take the fight somewhere else. They go to her house with her aunt and her little sisters, and she paints a picture of the older king, try and distract him, and then she stabs the older king with an iron dagger and kills him. And then now she is the queen of all the fae. This little human girl, because it's the most powerful, so the one who would kill the most powerful becomes the next most powerful and becomes the leader by default. So she is now the queen of all of the fae. The end of the book, it hints at a little marriage between Rook and Isabel, because he's the plan was for me to kill him, but I wasn't able to kill him because I was too injured from fighting off all of his little minions outside for a while. And she's like, yes, I will marry you. And they're super cute, and the ending's just adorable, and it's really good. You should read it if you haven't already. If you haven't, why did you just watch all the spoilers? Anywho, we've got Kingdom of Runes. It is so good. Wait, should I stop this video now? It's already 25 minutes, and I've got no editing power. This video will be like 40 minutes long. You know what? This video is going to be 40 minutes long. Whatever. Okay, so Kingdom of Runes. Have I been telling you the authors? I already told you the authors twice if you watched the other two videos. If not, you can probably pause it and see. Oh well. Kingdom of Runes. Books are really good. Great. Main character is Haven. She is a soldier? Assassin? She's like a mix between the two. In this magical world, she fights off the demons at night, like actual demons, not just like her demons. At night, she goes out into the forest outside the palace and fights off the demons. And in the first book, you meet Stalis, I think. Yeah. They've got a lovely little interaction where she is, like, fighting off a bunch of his demons, and he shows up and, like, plays with her a little bit, like she's a little mouse and he's a cat, and then sends her away, and she ends up accidentally drinking his blood when she's climbing back over the wall to get away from his monsters. Because she cuts him with her dagger, and then she's not even thinking, and when she climbs back up the wall, she puts the dagger in her mouth to climb, and climbs up the wall, gets his blood in her mouth, and drinks it. And that is the beginning of the mating process in this book, or in this series. Her and Stalis are so fucking cute. By the way, hopefully they're endgame. She meets Archeron in this book. He is basically, he's a light fae. I don't know what his species actually is, but he's basically a light fae. And he is a slave to the king. Something happened. I don't remember the specifics. I think his best friend was murdered and was taken captive by this kingdom. And then his best friend, who was like a brother to him, was abducted, taken captive by this kingdom, tortured, and then I think killed in front of him when he went to rescue him. So he killed the king's son, or one of the king's sons, or something like that. And his mom was pissed. She's like the queen of the Light Fae over on the other side of the ocean. And so she's like, here, have my son as your slave. And so the king owns a piece of Archeron's soul. So Archeron has to do whatever he says whenever he says it. The king sends Haven and Archeron. Oh no, the prince, the younger prince who was never supposed to be king, but will now have to be king someday because his older brother's dead. He's a bit of a bookworm. They think he might have magical powers because, Haven gives him a magic stone, and he performs magic, but it's really her magic that she accidentally put in the stone, and so everyone thinks he's got magic. He gets abducted, and is supposed to be killed by the Dark Seraphim Queen. I don't remember her name. But so, like, he gets abducted, so she goes out, and she goes out on her own, because he is her best friend, She goes out on her own to try and save him and runs into Archeron, who was sent by the king to save him. And, like, Archeron's three friends show up, and they end up going on this adventure to try and save him. Throughout all the worlds and everything. Like, the whole world and everything. I'm not gonna get into the little details. I don't even remember all the little details. And I don't even remember which books the specific things took place in. I think it's the end of this one, she ends up almost getting recaptured by the slave owner who owned her. He tried to get her to use her magic when she was a kid. She's like, I don't have magic. So he starts killing her friends, and she's like, I don't have magic, I can't use magic. And it just becomes a whole big thing. She escapes, though, and we find out later that she kills herself after she escapes. She drinks some poison, and, Stolas, as the, like, usherer of dead to the underworld, finds her, and her mom is some goddess who fell in love with a human, and in order to give birth to Haven, turned herself into a human at the last minute, and gave birth to Haven, which is why Haven has both light magic and dark magic. But then, and so this goddess comes down and is like, my daughter needs to live, and Stella's is like, yeah, go fuck yourself. And she's like, no, seriously, she needs to live, and, like, I need you to bring her back. And he's like, you know what? Just because I can, I'm gonna put her in the deepest, darkest parts of hell, and watch as my, like, demons flay her for eternity. But then he looks over at her, and he sees her innocence and her purity, and just how sweet she is, and he just can't do it to her. So he brings her back, and helps her get to the city. She gets to the city, and the prince finds her, and is like, Dad, I want her for my birthday. Because, like, she's just a little girl on the street, and his dad's like, excuse me? And he's like, she doesn't have anybody, she doesn't have anything, I want to take her home, I want her to be my friend. You've been taking me around town trying to get me a present for my birthday, I don't care about weapons, I have plenty of books. He's like, I want her to come home with us, she gets to live with us, that's my birthday present. So, that happens, and then, obviously, that's what happened before. Anyway, so she ends up in a fight with the slave dude who owned her before, is bad. Oh, her and Archeron are, like, in love with each other, but in this weird place where they, like, haven't gotten together yet. She falls off a bridge into a chasm. Stolas catches her at the bottom and takes her to his world. The underworld. She's still alive. She's just severely injured. So he feeds her his blood in order to heal her. She heals. She's like, what the fuck's going on? And he's like, you need to learn how to use your magic. If you're going to successfully do this without getting yourself killed, like, you need to learn. And she's like, well, light magic doesn't work in this part of the world. And all I've got is my dark magic, and Archeron told me I'm not allowed to use that because he doesn't like my dark magic. And Stolas is like, well, that's stupid. How about this? How about you give me permission to enter your dreams, and I teach you how to use your dark magic? And she's like, thinks about it for a little while, but then says yes. Which is, by the way, the second part of the mating ritual in this book. So you've got to drink someone's blood. Well, you each have to drink each other's blood. And then you each have to enter each other's dreams, and then you've got to get a familiar that's like the animal equivalent of your mate. And I think that's it. So, anyway, hold on, let me just knot my hair really quick. Um, so, like, they start training. They start training at night when she's dreaming. And then they finally get to the place. What's it called? I don't know what the bitch's castle is called. The place where her best friend is being held hostage. They finally get there, and she saves him. But they also get betrayed by one of their friends. It's not good. And then, she saves him and they get back to the world, but nobody can know that she's got the magic because she's just a normal person, and normal people aren't allowed to have magic. Only the royalty are. So if anyone finds out that it's her who has the magic, she dies. So they've been putting on, like, all the little tricks that the king wants his son to do, because now he has a reason to pay attention to his son. She, like, stands in the background and does all the little tricks, but makes it look like he's doing all the little tricks. And so they've been doing that until she accidentally gets him selected for a magic competition in the realm of Archeron's mom. So if he fails, he's Archeron's mom's slave for the rest of his life. And if he wins, I don't know. I don't remember the prize for winning. Maybe you work for them for the rest of your life? I don't know. Anyway, so then we've got Kingmaker. This is all about that competition I told you about. Haven originally doesn't get to go. The king keeps her behind because he thinks that she'll be a distraction to the prince. But she ends up going there anyway, in disguise. She goes to try and get permission from a princess to pose as her in the competition, and in order to help her friend. But then they go there to this world and find out, it's like a bunch of floating islands, right off the coast. They go there and find out that everything was overtaken. Everyone's a slave. The entire royal family, except the princess, was killed, and now the princess is being forced to do real bad things. She's being forced to sleep with the leader of the people who killed her family. I think the guy actually personally killed her family, but to survive, she's gotta do what she's gotta do. Anyway, she sacrifices her life. Haven tries to help and tries to save them. She does, but the princess ends up sacrificing her life to, like, save Haven or something like that. And then she gives Haven permission to impersonate her. So Haven goes, and she competes in the thing. Stolas is also competing because his wife is like, you're gonna do this. By the way, his wife is a massive bitch. She's the evil queen's daughter, and obviously she's evil. She tortures Stolas whenever she gets the chance. Like actual torture, not like, oh, I'm gonna torture you. No, like actual straight up torture. And, oh yeah, she does that in this book, and Haven keeps going into his mind, and, oh no, it's the beginning of this book. Haven keeps going into his mind and, like, healing him while he's dreaming, and, like, trying to make him feel better, and, like, reading him books and stuff like that. When he, like, got his feathers plucked out on his wings by her, or when he's just so badly beaten that he can't move, like, the mental version of himself can't even move. And it's super cute. Anyway, so her and Archeron are still kind of dating. They're now both in, like, his mom's kingdom. His mom hates him because a son of hers is going to, like, destroy her and like, take over the crown. She's like, I can't have that. So she tried to kill all of them. Orcheron slipped through the cracks. They thought he was a girl. Anywho. Haven... I don't think anybody wins the competition. I think right before the last competition is when Stolas' wife tries to, like, kill everyone. And Stolas and Haven and everyone are fighting all the demons off, and Haven's just obliterating everyone. And, Stolas kills his wife. Bitch deserved it, though. And, oh yeah, Orcheron breaks the bond between him and the king, but then loses, like, more than half of his soul in the process and goes evil. And shit goes bad. He, like, tries to take Haven because he wants to use her. He also wants to keep sleeping with her. But he wants to use her powers to take over the world, basically, now. And Stolas is like, you'll have to get through me. Like, Stolas is in love with her. This book, I haven't read. I've skimmed through it. I know what happens. I've also read, like, the spoilers online, because I wanted to read it, but I was like, I don't want to completely finish it and get through all the details and everything and, like, all those little juicy good bits of their relationship, and then have to wait a whole last year for the next book to come out. Oh, by the way, Stolas and Haven and all of their friends and everyone go, at the end of this book, go on a quest to do something. I don't remember what it is. Anyway, so in this book, Haven and Stolas are fully mated together, although it's not all great because when, I think all of the Light Seraphim, which is what Stolas and his sister are, oh yeah, one of his sisters survived the slaughter of his family, and he's been keeping her safe. Anywho, it's not all great because I think when the Light Seraphim, might be what he is, are born, they, like, get up how they're gonna die. They, like, find out how they're gonna die. Or, like, when they turn 10, or when they become a man or something, they find out how they're gonna die. And he's supposedly gonna die because the woman he loves is either gonna cause his death, or it's gonna kill him. Like, he's gonna love her, and she's gonna love him, and things are gonna be great, and sunshine and rainbows, and then she's gonna be either the reason he dies, or she's gonna be the one who kills him. His sister's not happy about that. And when they're finally mated together and finally in love with each other, like, Stolas doesn't tell her anything because he doesn't want to worry her. He doesn't want to, like, self-fulfill the prophecy or something like that. And so, by the end of this book, his sister is thinking about killing Haven. Stolas will never forgive her because he would rather die than Haven, but I understand where her sister's coming from. Or where his sister's coming from. Wanting to save him, her last family, over letting his mate kill him for whatever the purpose is gonna be. It'll probably be some, like, spell or something. Like, he has to die for shit to happen. Or for her to save the world. That's this series. And I'll leave it off there. Oh, I got 3 done again. Although I did think I was going to get 4 done, so I kind of feel like I slacked off a little bit. Oh well. Anyway, thank you for watching. Let me know in the comments what else you want to see. More books. Whatever. If you liked this video, then please like it. And I think that's all. The next video with the next probably 3 books on the list will be out soon. And I hope you all have a great day. Bye.